that you do should come from within. It's something that drives me to this day. My mission for me was something that it kept coming back. You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. I kept listening, and then I took action, and it began to fly. It developed its own wings. And I think that's because I listened to that still voice inside of me. I needed Sister Keeper growing up because I grew up in a community where I didn't see a lot of positive reflections of me. I didn't see it on television, I didn't see it in books, I didn't see it in magazines, I didn't see it on billboards. I did not see it anywhere outside of my home. My mom had me at 15 at an age where she started losing her voice, and so she was telling me how important it was to break that cycle and to make sure that I define myself in so many ways and not allow society to do that for me. I knew that that was something I wanted to instill in my daughters, and I found that that was a need in our community as well. I had two daughters that were very different, and they were struggling to find their voices at a time in their life where most girls do, that middle school age. So I really wanted to make sure that they had their voice and to continue to have their voice inside and outside of the home. Sister Keeper is a nonprofit organization that focuses on building leadership, diversity, and community awareness in girls. It started in 2002 in my basement, and in 2004 it became a nonprofit. Right here in St. Louis, Missouri, or in our Ferguson-Florissant school district. The concept was that we're all sisters, black, white, tall, short, thick or thin, hazelnut, blend. Open up your multicultural Crayola box. If you find your color, that means you're a sister, but also it's important to be a keeper to yourself and to your local, national, and global community. We got 7 girls, and we started doing the circles where we would have snacks and giving them journals so they could write out their feelings and express how they felt and define themselves through poetry. The girls start trusting each other and realizing that they have a voice and that they respect each other, and they fall in line with what it means to know that I'm unique, I'm an individual, and we collectively are different, but we can come together and build on each other's differences. What happens is magical. Our girls connect, and they start seeing that they all have a vision and a purpose, and that's the beautiful piece. They all start defining themselves. I hope that Sister Keeper accomplishes what I feel like it has accomplished thus far and continues to accomplish, is allowing girls to know that I define me and not society. That we create a movement that is not just an expression, but it's an action. And it's something that we see happen even when I'm long gone.
People say things get better. It doesn't get better. You just learn to deal with it better. I lost James and Steve September the 5th, 2015. They were on their way home from work when they were gunned down on the corner of Goodfellow and Julia. Not only have you torn up my family, but you've torn up your family as well.
I miss seeing him a lot. It's pretty fun. I remember him and my Uncle Vaughn, like, they had like four-wheelers. It was like really fun. They would take me on rides on them from time to time. And I'm so glad I can still remember those moments.
I was lost. I was out of it. It took my heart away because that's all I had that I knew loved me. If my mother, my father, my siblings didn't, I knew my kids did. Alvin was murdered September the 27th in 1989. Went to a club, it was called the Rose back then. He was sitting in his car and they walked up to him and shot him, and a bullet went through the crease of his eye. Michael was murdered April the 2nd, 2014. Found him in the car and the girl. They were shot with AR-15s.
When we get the information on a family that has lost a loved one to homicide, we go out and we try to see what the needs of the family is. And we try to let the mother know that she can live after losing a child. I feel if we could reach the children, sometimes children can even change parents. STL Mothers in Charge is a group of mothers, grandmothers, aunts, sisters committed to reducing the number of violent acts in St. Louis. Our mission is violent prevention, education, intervention for youth, young adults, families, and community organizations. By working together to end violence, we will provide a safe environment for our children and improve the quality of life for all. It's necessary for STL Mothers in Charge to get out and to reach the community to see what it is that we can do to make an impact, that we can start changing things.
You see, it's such a bad place where you have to watch your back or be very careful. You could just like walk around, be like, have a good life without worrying about somebody shooting, or if you go to the park in a bad neighborhood, have to worry about somebody getting killed.
It's a community that's heavily impacted by gun violence. A lot of the kids there live with this. We had the Easter egg event at Hickey Park over here in Baden. We got trees donated, and so each family got to plant a tree in honor of their loved one. And then we had a balloon release. Hopefully, we maybe start working in some therapeutic play and start building relationships, and then maybe, hopefully, we have some kind of small impact on the kids growing up.
Community means to come together and unite. And I believe that's what Mothers in Charge is all about.
The mountains that made me was not supposed to happen. I felt like I was on so many mountains and I just kept on falling. I was like, I'm going up this mountain, but I just keep on falling. I'm thinking I'm making it to the top, but every time I turn around, something happening to where I just keep on getting knocked down. And it was just a rocky slope. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I've been through miscarriages, abortion. I've been through depression, suicidal, like attempted suicide. It was a lot of things that I went through in my life that I was ashamed of, but now I'm no longer ashamed of it because I'm helping so many people just by talking about it or even getting them to write down what they've been through. I wish I would have figured out that journaling was the way out to healing. I didn't necessarily know until I was down, and I didn't know exactly where to go, who to turn to, and the only thing I had was a pen and paper sitting on my table. I healed myself because I was writing about it. I actually hid my journals away so that nobody else would find them. It was like I was hiding them from myself too. I was volunteering at so many different nonprofits, at domestic violence shelters. My close, I call her my aunt, but she's like my mom's friend. She was killed by her partner because she was leaving. And when I was going to volunteer at all these different places, I was having one-on-one conversations with these ladies, and they were basically, you would go up there talking about finances, and they would start crying, saying, well, I don't have nothing, so I don't need to write it down. Or you going up there telling them, well, this is your next step, what you need to do to further yourself in this situation, in this transition. I mean, like, well, my life over, I can't do nothing. I was like, these women are broken. And I was like, I was broken before. I was sitting, talking to my coach, and I was telling her I want to have these journaling workshops. And she was asking why. And I'm like, well, because I went through a lot and journaling helped me. And she was basically saying, why do you think these women will come and talk to you? They don't know anything about you. And I'm like, well, I've been through a lot. I'm going to tell them. And she like, that don't mean nothing. I was like, it does, because that's my story. So she was like, well, why don't you just get those journals and put them in a book? I was like, no, that's my life. And she was like, if you want people to talk about their life to you, why don't you just put it in a book? So that's what I went and did. I went and grabbed all those journals I hid for years. And I went back and read through each and every one. It's making me comfortable to just talk about writing to people, to let people know, well, I put all my business in this book. I went through the same thing you went through. It's no shame. Like, everybody go through something.
Hello, 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 fam. How are you all doing? Happy Saturday. Good afternoon on this Saturday. I hope you are all doing well. In the comments, let me know how you're feeling, how your day is going, and what you're feeling about this premiere. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday to spend with me and the women who are featured in this film. Tell me where you're from, where you're watching from. Tell me what's going on. I know we have some people here from St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I was born and raised, so that's where I'm from. We probably have some people joining from California. So just let me know how you're doing and where you're from. I like to shout you out. T. Silerio says she's from St. Louis. Yes, yes, yes. Love it. Thank you for joining, T. Where is everybody else from? Anybody else from the East or the West Coast or overseas? Hey, Catrice. Hey, producer lady. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all. I know some people. I don't know if they didn't get their Eventbrite email, but I resent it so that they can join. So I'm going to give people a few minutes to connect and get comfortable. So thank you, Joyce and Callie. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, Veranda. STL. The Lou. Okay, okay. Hey, T Phoenix. Yes, we're from the Lou and we're proud, of course, of course. This is a city that definitely made me who I am, so I wouldn't change it for anything. Sorry if you see me looking to the side, I'm just checking to make sure this email was sent and people know how to join. I had received some messages too. This is all new to everyone, so I understand and want to give everyone as much time as they need, within limits to connect. Hi, Teresa. Ooh, a cabin in Arkansas sounds amazing. Yes, the mountains. It sounds like everything. Hey, Erica, Boston. Okay. Watching from Jersey. Okay, cool. Thank you for joining. Crystal, STL, the Lou. Okay. Give people a few more minutes and then I'll get started. But again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday. Today is World Mental Health Day, so why not celebrate by, you know, allowing women or giving women space to share their mental health stories. That's what it's all about. Mental health awareness. What is it actually like to live with a mental health condition instead of the things we see in the media and on television. Those can really skew our perspective. So I'm happy to show this to you and to help all of us see another perspective. Yes, yes, Teresa. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So if you know anyone who is joining or who registered today, let them know that Eventbrite sent an email with the link to this video. So they should just be able to click on the Eventbrite link and it'll bring them directly here. Hello, Informative Artistry. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. And where are you joining from, Informative Artistry? Let us know in the comments. I'm giving people 3 more minutes. I'm excited too, Candace. Thank you for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. A couple of minutes before we get started. How are you all doing on this fall Saturday? I hope you had a great week and have been able to relax and take care of yourself. I know that was a big thing for me this week. We finished this film last month and it's been go, go, go ever since then. So the last couple of days I've been making sure I take time to journal and like this morning I took a walk, meditated in front of a fountain in the neighborhood, and that was exactly what I needed to, get ready and feel relaxed. So yeah, those types of things are necessary. All right. Hey, Reggie. Thank you. Thank you. Another Lou person. The Lou is definitely in here deep, which I expected because that's my hometown, of course. Always good to have people from where you're from support you and what you do and what you bring to the table. Let me send this link to a few more people. Sorry, technology is interesting most of the time. There's always a lot going on. Hello, Karen. Thank you for joining from the UK. Wow. Definitely overseas. I appreciate it. If you don't mind me asking, how'd you hear about Black Girl Blue? Was it via Eventbrite? And okay, DC, Informative Artistry. Cool. All right. So I know some people have said that they aren't able to comment. Um, are you directly on the YouTube link from Eventbrite? Um, if not, or I mean, if you are, then you might want to leave and then come back and see if that works. I'm not sure why some would be able to comment, but others wouldn't be able to. So that's one thing that may help out. Let me know if that helps you out as far as being able to comment. And thank you to the people who've already subscribed to my YouTube channel. Everyone else, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so because I would love to keep you updated on the projects that I have coming up. I feel like this project is a catalyst for different things that I want to do, and it's kind of my introduction to the world as far as who I am as a creator and filmmaker. So there's definitely more and more to come. Someone said it took them a moment to find the comment section or the chat box. The chat room is on the right side of the screen. If you are using the YouTube app, or actually you might have to open the live chat on the top right side, or if you're on YouTube, it should be at the top, near the title for the video, so like in between. And make sure you watch it on YouTube versus Eventbrite. So if you click on the Eventbrite link from the email, it'll take you to where the YouTube link is. Like, you'll see the thumbnail. So click on that thumbnail and that will take you to YouTube. So you'll have to sign into your Gmail account in order to comment from YouTube. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, you definitely have to log in from YouTube. And I'm sorry that I didn't explain that, but I thought, well, the way that Eventbrite described it to me was that all you had to do was click the link and it'll take attendees there. I guess, well, every time I tested it, it did, but I didn't realize once you press play, they have to go directly to YouTube. So sorry about that. Now we know. Okay, nice. Healing. She got faith. Cool, cool. So if you all are ready, I'll go ahead and get started and talk about the background. We have people here from the UK. We have people here from DC, from California, from the Lou, my hometown. So I appreciate you all for taking time out of your day to just spend with me and to engage with this project. It's definitely something that's been on my heart for a while, and I'm very proud to say it's complete and ready to show to the world. So about me, I'm a writer, director, and producer from St. Louis, Missouri. I focus on telling stories where Black women and girls exist as full human beings on screen and feel seen, heard, loved, and affirmed off screen. Some of the projects that I've worked on include those that are on cable and streaming platforms like Netflix, Oxygen, Comedy Central, MTV, Prime Video, and more. And as you know, I recently finished, as of last month, Black Girl Blue, which is my fourth short documentary. So I'll tell you a little bit about where the idea from that film came from. So growing up, I lived in a neighborhood where my house was the only time I really saw more than two Black people. Film, television, and recording myself singing and dancing with a camcorder was my outlet, and my refuge, I would have to say, was my Uncle Nell. Time with Uncle Nell was absolutely amazing. I always felt seen, heard, and understood. And he helped my cousins and I use our imagination to just, feel the day and to, just enjoy ourselves. Not only was he the neighborhood candy man, he literally had a candy store from the house, but he dreamt of being the next Manny Fresh. So he absolutely loved music, and he wrote songs and made beats and all that type of stuff. And what I remember most is the time that we bought a whole bunch of stuff from the Oriental Trading Magazine to have a carnival in the backyard for all the kids on the block. So we had tickets, we had prizes. It was just the type of person that he was. He just loved to celebrate and have fun, and allow children to enjoy themselves as they were. So in all this fun, I didn't realize until I was older that, like my grandfather, who was his dad, and other family members, he was living with a mental health condition. It never dawned on me that I had only seen him probably leave his home maybe 5 times in my entire life, leading up to the last time I saw him. He became less and less like the uncle that I remember, and more like someone who I didn't recognize. Sadly, in 2016, he passed away unexpectedly. And in true Black girl fashion, I immediately went into, I'm okay. I'm a strong Black woman. I'll be all right. I can do this. I can move on. I can heal. Which actually meant that I became everything for everyone. Rarely took time for myself. And I filled every moment. Literally, I was working probably 3 or 4 jobs, plus in the media training program. I was working, and working more. So a year later, I found myself exhausted, stressed out, depressed, and at my breaking point. And for me, depression looked like not being able to function, having a hard time taking care of myself, day-to-day things. So I really needed help. I needed support. So I reached out to someone who I was close to and who I felt safe with. And unfortunately, the words that came out of their mouth is probably what you or someone you love who's struggling with mental health has heard. Things such as you're ungrateful for being depressed. No one has a reason to be depressed. Or the one that really struck my heart was, I don't care what you're going through. Instead of feeling better, this made me feel a lot worse. The shame, guilt, and pain that I was already feeling became much more intense, and I just didn't know how to get through that. And I couldn't understand how someone, especially someone who I loved and cared for, could be so cruel. So, surprised and in disbelief, I had enough of being misunderstood. I had enough of being treated without compassion because of something over which I had no control. So I asked myself, how can I make room and make space for other women who are going through the same thing, for other women who look like me? Because there's this perception that Black women are strong and are always strong and have to be strong. How can I give us room and space to tell our stories and release what we're experiencing without judgment? So, from these moments of despair and just asking those questions, Black Girl Blue was born. It's an outlet for Black women to share their pain in a safe space. It's a tool to change hearts and minds and hopefully make the times I heard these words not only the last time for me, but the last time for other people and women who look like and struggle like I have and I do sometimes. If I can cultivate compassion and sympathy, maybe one less Black woman will suffer in silence. Maybe one last Black woman will realize and accept that she doesn't always have to be strong and that it's impossible to always be strong. I want us to know that it's okay to not be okay. I want us to know that it's okay to admit the pain and struggles we're going through. It's always okay to be a full human being, and that means feeling all of your feelings. It's okay to be broken. I want us to know and believe that it's okay to need to heal, and it's okay to choose you first. Everything that flows within your life starts with you, so that requires you to take care of you. So all these things that I've went through and experienced are what some of the women in the film have experienced and will attest to in sharing their stories. So thank you all for commenting, and thank you for sending your love. Someone said, I'm sorry that it happened to you. So am I, but honestly, it's taken a couple of years to get through it and to heal from it and feel like I can move on. But I can say that I'm finally in that space. I just remember all the pain that I had to go through to get here. But now I'm full of so much joy and love and passion for mental wellness and allowing Black women to be their full selves, regardless of what society or other people have to say about it. So, in saying all of this, if you all are ready, I would like to show you Black Girl Blue. Let me know in the comments if you're ready, and I'll go ahead and press that play button. And thank you for everyone who's loving the comments, who's liking. Don't forget to subscribe as well. But if you all are ready, I'll go ahead and do it. All right, y'all ready? Okay, here we go. The virtual premiere of Black Girl Blue on 10/10/20, World Mental Health Day. Here we go. And don't forget to share your comments in the chat box. If you have any questions, don't forget to lay those out. If you have questions for our truth tellers, which is the women sharing their stories, put QT. If you have a question for me, put QD for question for director. And if you have a question for a healer, which is our therapist, then put QH in front of your question. And here we go.
Mental health means being whole, being complete. It means taking care of your mental, physical, spiritual, financial, emotional needs. A lot of times we look at ourselves from the outside in, and we're good at putting on a mask.
Mental health also has to deal with coping and adjustments. It has to do with imbalances of brain chemistry. Getting down into the science is what people miss a lot.
We've been conditioned to believe that Black women don't actually have mental health issues, and so by literally saying Black Girl Blue is making it very clear that we also have some of those same struggles. First year of my marriage was extremely difficult. I would not say uncommon, but it was extremely difficult. I totaled my car a month before my wedding. My ex-husband, he totaled his car 2 months after the wedding, and it was the same month that my mom was admitted into the hospital. And I was working, we both were working an extremely over-demanding job. So the stress of work, the stress of having management that did not care about what happened outside of work, balancing this new role in my life and trying to figure out what's going on with my mom was just an onset of just triggers. That series of time absolutely forced me to address everything that I was hiding since I was a kid.
When I was dating in my younger years, if a guy would come toward me in a way, I would flinch, or if he would be beside me and I could see my peripheral, and if he would like raise his hand or something, I would jump thinking he would hit me, but he never did or would, but it affected me. I always felt that men hit women for the reason of seeing my mother physically abused.
Some of the ways that my childhood trauma showed up was like as a coping mechanism and as a defense mechanism. I taught myself how to be invisible, even though I was like really overweight. So, and even though I was an introvert, I was also very quiet and like hid in the background so that I wouldn't draw attention to how I looked, so that that wouldn't bring about teasing and bullying. And I essentially taught myself just that I didn't have a voice. I didn't know how to defend myself. Even now, it's still something that I have to be intentional on speaking up for myself, on correcting disrespectful or bad behavior towards me.
I have a clinical diagnosis of anxiety and depression, and they both have made me a prisoner to myself at different times of my life. They have caused me to shield myself from people who care about me and love me. They have caused me to sit in the room with no lights, no TV, no sound, by myself, just thinking. My thoughts are running rapid, and I can't control them. They have caused me to be miserable. The first time that I really recognized depression was when my best friend took her life, and I didn't understand. I saw her Friday and she took her life Sunday, and she didn't show any signs. She didn't say anything to us, so it kind of took me by surprise. So that was a traumatic experience for me, and I found myself being very depressed because I just couldn't understand.
So in 2014, two of my uncles were killed in a double homicide, essentially around the corner from where we lived and grew up. And in true Black girl fashion, I was like, shit happens, like, and kind of just like
I think made me even more so keep my head down and kind of like push through it. And for about maybe 2 years that was working, and then it wasn't. And so I found myself in like this deep sadness that I couldn't shop away, I couldn't eat away, I couldn't, talk about it through my friends and sort of then move on. But I found myself being, it was hard to wake up, it was hard to function, it was hard to like go to family gatherings because of course there's this big hole because there's two people who are no longer there. I think January of 17, January of 18. It was a late night. I don't recall exactly what triggered it or what it was, but I had just kept, like, I couldn't rest, I couldn't eat, I couldn't kind of like concentrate. And so I found myself, which is what I would actually do to find respite, is like drive around. And so whether that's like with the sunroof open, listening to music, singing at the top of my lungs off key, all those things. And then I kind of like, where normally that would help, it made it worse. And I kind of found myself driving around looking for somewhere I could drive off and like just kind of be done with it.
It was February of 2016. I was dropping off a t-shirt to a coworker. I was sitting in my car waiting on her to come out, and my doors were locked, and I wasn't really paying attention to my surroundings. And I saw a guy walk in front of my car, but I didn't think anything of it. And seconds later, that same guy came to my car. He had a hood on his head, and he had a bandana on his face, and all I could see was his eyes. And he pointed a gun at my window, at my head, and all I could do was scream. That was my first reaction, was to scream, and then I tried to climb over into the passenger seat because I was trying to get away from the scene. And thankfully, he looked at me. He took a second look at me, and he was like, "You're not the person I'm looking for." And he was like, "But you need to get out of here." And from that time forward, there are times I just don't want to go outside. I don't trust people. I'm not sure what your intentions are with me. Shortly after that happened, I had hallucinations and bad dreams. I was even in church, I had a hallucination, and they had to take me out. I was just afraid. I lived in fear. I didn't want to drive, especially at night, because that's when it happened. I didn't want anybody to drive me. I just wanted to be at home because that was my safe place.
I would describe my environment growing up as very extreme and chaotic. There were two worlds. There was the private world at home, and then the public world. And at home, very abusive. My mother had a sexual relationship with the pastor of our church, and it went on for several years. My stepfather was cheating on her as well. But then the pastor wanted me to be one of his sexual conquests. And instead of my parents protecting me, they didn't. My mother became jealous. She has narcissistic personality disorder, I believe the malignant type, which is very mean, even a sociopath. And being abandoned, and she told me to my face that I don't care how you're handling this, your feelings don't matter to me. Having that type of experience, I began to suppress my hurt and the trauma that I was feeling. And mentally, I couldn't focus or control my thoughts. It was difficult to do little things like get up and brush my teeth, or what do I need to eat for dinner? Just those simple things every day of just making choices that became very difficult. That experience woke me up and let me know that if I don't leave, I'm going to hurt someone, and I'm going to like hurting someone.
Mental health in the Black community is so important. It's so crucial that we deal with it because it allows us to break a lot of cycles. We have a stigma that is related to mental health and therapy that states that we don't need it, that there's nothing wrong with us, or we're just crazy and we'll be able to pray it away, or we just work through it by going to our family and friends and saying, girl, let's talk about it and let's have a party and just work through it.
Depression and anxiety really plague Black women in our communities, and I think it's because of a lot of intergenerational trauma, sexual trauma, things that we don't get a chance to talk about or we feel ashamed talking about.
And the more that we overcome that stigma of we have to look at ourselves as being the strong Black family that does not need resources, then we can overcome some of those issues that impact our communities. The impact of untreated mental health is the result of continuously experiencing breakdowns in our families, generational trauma that's happening in our communities, women not being able to express themselves as a complete woman, families not being able to work through the issues, more depression, more sexual abuse, a variety of different issues that happen that no one speaks to, and we continue to be silenced as a result of that society continuing to define us in a way that does not speak to who we are completely.
The strong Black woman stereotype is literally killing us en masse. And whether that is literal, we've seen, a lot of young Black women die from heart attacks who are like in their 40s. We know Black women who have decided taking their own life was the only way to get some peace. I know Black women who have turned to drinking and drugs and all of those things because literally within our families, within our jobs, within society, like within our intimate relationships, all of the responsibility for everything is on us.
I would say being a Black woman has impacted my mental health in two ways, in a positive way and in a negative way. In a negative way, it has caused me to, I would say, be invisible because there's an expectation for Black women to be able to carry the world on our back without complaint, without, waving the white flag to say, hey, I need help. We're expected to figure it out. We're not allowed to be weak. We're not allowed to be confused. We're definitely not allowed to make mistakes. In a positive way, as twisted as it might sound, there's some of that did force me to grow a backbone in a way that I didn't have prior to that. Prior to my mom getting sick, I didn't really have that strength. And so the false expectation that I bought into also gave me the muscles that I needed to make it through bouts of depression that will come later in life.
But it's so deep, like that's how we've been brought up. And so like even I look at my grandma, like those were her sons that were killed, and she still to this day hasn't I don't think actually engaged with the type of pain that she really does feel. And like that's the woman who's like the center of my life, right? And so I think we see and we learn from the Black women who we care about that that's actually the way that we're supposed to operate, but it's not. We gotta lay that shit down if we're gonna be able to live like the kind of lives that we want to live and actually have the type of freedom that we need.
What made me want to be a licensed professional counselor was the need for therapy in my community, the need for us to experience healing, complete healing, women as well as girls. I felt that we encounter so many different obstacles in our lives and we don't completely work through those issues. Of course, there is limitations to that because there's a small amount of African American therapists as well as therapists that can relate to us from a cultural perspective, but that doesn't mean that there's not a solution there.
So I'm a doctor of occupational therapy and I specialize in mental health. I've worked with people in jail and prisons, I've worked with veterans, and ultimately I do community-based work to make sure that people can function in the community despite any varying abilities they might have or impairments from mental health. So if you are hearing voices, if you're seeing hallucinations, that can be hard to concentrate on just like a daily task, like even fixing breakfast. So making sure that we give strategies to help them tether to reality or helping them build routines that will ultimately help make the day easier for predictability, and giving them the tools that they need to live independently despite all those things.
The most valuable thing about therapy for me right now is that it's 2 hours a week, because I go twice weekly now, where it's just about me and nobody else. And so even if I go in there and just am like, girl, let me tell you how tired I am coming to therapy, because I'm actually kind of tired of coming to her and like talking about this stuff every week, but like that's my space where I can do that. And so I think that's what's most valuable, is that no matter what else is going on in the world, those 2 hours are just for me. And that in and of itself is a radical shift in mindset, where it can actually be just about me sometimes, and it should be. Getting better at knowing like my signs and my triggers has been super helpful in therapy, because sometimes I would be sad and be like, I don't actually know why I'm sad, and I couldn't like pinpoint that. And so therapy has helped me like, oh, that's a trigger or oh, like it's the 5th anniversary. It's natural and like expected for you to be sad. Like you can be sad, you don't have to actually, and you actually can't outwork your sadness. And so just kind of like I think therapy has made it clear that I'm not the only person who struggles with these things.
I think when my best friend took her life, that was when I knew like this is not okay. You sit in your room not talking to people, it's not okay. And my mom was afraid that I would do the same thing she did. She thought I would take my life. And to be honest, it was the thought, but I felt like that was the easy way out. So my mom took it upon herself to find a counselor, and I started talking to a counselor, and I've been talking to one ever since.
I know it's not the same for everyone, but for me, it looked like therapy. I needed to learn how to talk to someone and feel safe with my own feelings, and to be validated that what I'm feeling is not something that should be ignored. And it's not something that should have gotten to an extreme level to where I was contemplating suicide. Very often, I can remember doing that even as a child. It was either suicide or running away from home. And so just speaking with someone who needed to confirm to me that you were right, what you're feeling is not normal, and the environment that you came from is not normal. I wasn't diagnosed until later in my life. So I had all of those years of exploring and discovering. And then when I got my official diagnosis, it was life-saving. I mean, when I found out that all I had to do was just take a pill, that's it. And all of the stigma and issues that came at me, even before being diagnosed with bipolar disorder 2, I realized maybe having treatment is a little easier than I think it's gonna be. So there's all of these misconceptions that I had, is what I'm trying to say. And once I got over that, then my journey became more clear on what I was supposed to do. So
there are so many of us who don't understand that mental health is even just coping with spilling your coffee and how do you move forward. And it's not something that is so big all the time. It's just when something enters our atmosphere, are we able to modify and adjust? Are we able to look at our state of being and our state of wellness and understand what it is that we need to get to the places of health and positivity and growth?
During times of grieving, I cry. That's a part of my release. I don't really like to cry. It's not the most comfortable thing to cry, especially in front of people. And it's associated with that stigma of you're a black woman and you gotta be strong. There's no crying. So I allow myself to cry, and it may not be just that one time. It may be over a period of time. I never really know. But when I feel the need to cry, I cry.
When I think back on those times, and also even presently, some things that help me to get through times of anxiety, times of depression. One is my faith. I'm a believer. I absolutely believe in Jesus, and I absolutely believe that there's power in his name. I experience that every day, and literally to the point where needing to get up and go to work is me saying, Jesus, I need your help to get out of this bed and to go to work. And I feel him working in me, in my mind, in my spirit, in my heart, to get me to wherever I need to be.
That gun incident kind of made me feel like I wasn't safe. So I have to remind myself that I am safe. And I oftentimes remind myself that I am loved and that I am needed, because in those times of high anxiety, it can play on your mind and make you feel like you're not needed and nobody cares about you, and that's far from the truth.
If you're someone that deals with depression or anxiety or any type of mental illness, you're not crazy. Do not associate that with, saying that you're crazy. I would say there's no shame in admitting that truth. There's no shame in seeking out help.
I have came out and said I have anxiety. I take, medication. I do go to a life coach because it's okay. And I'm tired of it, making it feel like it's not okay to go through everything that I'm going through and learn how to deal with it and fix it.
Building empathy looks like understanding the stories of people who are living with mental health concerns, asking them about a typical day and how hard it is or how difficult it is to even face a day. And empathy, it's like, oh, I never thought about your anxiety is so bad you don't even want to talk to anybody. You're not trying to be rude, you're not trying to be fake. I just don't even have the energy to talk to all these people that I don't know. And building empathy looks like sitting in the space of being uncomfortable with it. That might not be your lived experience, but just understanding that there are people who are going through that.
If there's anything that I could add to what it looks like for us to be able to support one another as women, is realize that we are all very different, but we all want to be heard. We all want to experience what it feels like to be complete. From the inside and out. Healing means working through your issues from a holistic perspective. It means having tools in place that you can do on a regular basis. And as African American women, a lot of times we don't have time. We're like, I don't have time for that. I have too much going on. There's so much that can happen in a day, in a week, in a month. And so it means self-care, self-love. We're taught to love everyone else instead of ourselves. We're taught to say, I love you, I love you. That's one of the first things that we say to one another all the time. But who teaches you how to love yourself? So that means taking time for yourself early in the morning. Maybe it means getting that playlist together, meditating, journaling. But also it means that if you can't find positive people that are not emotionally toxic or manipulative, that you find a safe space or a sister circle that you can share your feelings. Or if you know that there are some issues you need to work through individually, that you seek that professional help as well, because that's what it means to be okay, instead of saying I'm not okay and I'm okay with not being okay.
I think I think what I'm most looking forward to is joy. I think I haven't let myself actually be joyous for fear that joy means that another shoe is about to drop. And so I'm looking forward to not living my life like that.
Once you get beyond the shame and the fear, life is better on this side of it when you're given the tools and the language to heal. I am so grateful to have made it through what I went through, because what I am able to experience in life makes it worth it. Like, I'm an actor, I'm a dreamer, and if I had either given up on life when I wanted to, or if I had continued to ignore all of the prompts that were telling me to deal with this, I would not have been ready to experience the gift and just like the excitement that comes with walking in your dreams and walking in your purpose. There's just so much freedom. There's so much freedom on this side. And if you are able to, like I said, get access to the resources that you need to deal with this, I think you will, I know you will find the hope and the gratitude that will propel you forward.
I would really love to see Black women make statements about their mental health. Mental health doesn't mean your life is over. It just means your life is different, and you have so many things that are out there that can be utilized for you to still live a life that you would love to live. I think overcoming it looks like taking away all of the negative connotation that the world or society might try to put on you and defining yourself. We have so much to be proud of ourselves for, and mental health can be another one of those things where we change the very DNA of how people look at it.
Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of your amazing comments and your feedback. And like all of you are saying, I appreciate each and every one of the women who shared their stories. Um, I am so happy and grateful for them being vulnerable and being real about what they've experienced. And I hope that it has impacted you in a positive way. I hope you're able to see yourself and to see where you need healing. And I hope you're encouraged to seek that healing. And I hope you encourage the other women around you to do the same thing. So I'm going to take a pause for a moment, just so we can transition into the next thing, which is a breathing session to kind of help us process everything that we've just watched. Some of it is heavy, some of it is could be triggering because we've dealt with similar situations. So I want to make sure we're in a good space to, talk about it and to go into the Q&A. So just a moment. Hello. So I just want us to take a moment to breathe. The next session actually includes breathing, and that's a big part of whether or not we realize it, of our mental health and care. So let me introduce the amazing woman who's going to take us through a breathwork session. Let me tell you a little bit about her. So her name is Datiana Guerrero, and she's the Hold 3 curator and breathwork healing guide. She liberates the breath, mind, and body with original healing from Black and Indigenous practices of healing, herbs, and meditative therapies that soothe the entire whole being. Her education is expansive with over 7 years of study with apothecary, breathwork, Black and Native holistic healing therapies, yoga, and health sciences at Logan University. The whole 3 therapies are uniquely designed to engage the mind and body in ways that scientifically promote rest and restoration for universal health through guided meditative breath work. Hold 3 holds a special place for the wellness of Black women, providing targeted events and services that are specific to Black women. Datiana works to affirm a world where Black beings can breathe gently, heal, and rekindle the mind-body-spirit relationship that preserved and cared for their ancestral foremothers and fathers. Hold 3 helps to cultivate a lifestyle of nurturing self-care that honors the wholesomeness in the Black body, mind, and experience. The revolution is your healing. Breathe. Welcome, Datiana.
All right. Can y'all see me? Okay. I was like, hi, Tatiana. She's pretty. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start. This is my first time doing a guided meditation without being able to see the viewers, which is really different for me. I really do enjoy connect face to face. But the beautiful thing about coming from such a beautiful experience of the documentary is that I can feel you. So at any time that you feel away, I just want you to take a deep breath. It doesn't have to be a very hard deep breath. It could just be very gentle. But this is all about having a space to connect with your person. When we take in stories, a lot of times something happens that triggers our own trauma. And it's a beautiful experience when you can hold space with so many beings. And I know that we can't see each other, but again, I want to affirm the fact that we can feel each other. And so for every breath that I breathe, I'm breathing for you. And for every breath that you breathe, you're breathing for me and for everyone else within this collective. And to make sure that this remains a safe space, if there's any time that you have anything that comes up, I can go ahead and click on to the YouTube. I kind of have those questions on the side of my computer screen as well, just to make sure that I can stay connected with you just in case something comes up. So as we begin, I actually have a rain stick here. So this rain stick is going to be used to help us go along with cueing the breath. Rain sticks originate from Chile, also Africa, and natives use it as well as in America. The beautiful thing about rain sticks is that they're usually made from cactuses that are about 70 years old. And I really want you to just really hold that for a moment with yourself. 70 years. The stories that not only we carry, but all living beings carry, including plants and animals and our ancestors. And so the same stories that you have within your being, you also have is your interconnectedness with your ancestors. And so I really want you to, in this experience, connect with not only your story, but also the story that goes along with your foremothers and your forefathers. The rain stick was also used to channel the rain gods. And for right now, I just want to wash over you. I just want to wash over you with love, with good energy, with protectedness, and with peace. It takes a lot of work to get to peace. And I want to be very clear about that. And part of that work to get to peace is what the women spoke about in the documentary. So before we begin, and I begin with the noise, I just want to hold a moment of silence. A moment of silence for our stories that live within us, within around us, within our ancestors, and even for the truth tellers that were telling their stories today. Stillness is a really beautiful gift. It allows energy and spirit to move So when you take this breath in, the breath that we're going to take as a collective together, I really want you to touch yourself, and not only to touch yourself, but to hold yourself. I am in a pregnant body right now. So if at any time my hands are coming out a little bit more, it's just because of my belly. And so I want you, though, to wrap your arm, it can be any arm, and take it to the side of your body. And then you're going to take your other hand, and I want you to bring it up on top of your chest, where your heart lies. Just take a deep breath here. And I don't even want you to honestly focus on your deep breathing. I want you to come back to whatever breath is here. It could be pacing fast if you were a truth teller. It could be pacing faster if you're a producer and you are worried and kind of anxious about every little thing just to make sure everything goes right. And it can also be going at a rate that you're not necessarily used to. So just close your eyes. Collectively, we're going to take a deep breath in through our nose, drawing in that breath for 3 seconds. I'll count for you. 1, 2, 3. Feeling your chest rise. Hold that breath here, holding that posture upright, allowing that breath to just hold space with you. Exhaling out. 1, 2, 3. Allowing your body to come back in and ground itself. Now, no matter where you are within your house, or maybe you're in a car, because I love sitting in my car too, I want you to find a really comfortable position. Just relax. I don't want you to try to sit upright or to try to put your body in a placement that doesn't feel good. It's really important with breath work that we destigmatize what that looks like. You can be lying down on your side. You can be sitting in a chair or sitting on the floor, whatever feels good to your body. And I just want you to allow me to use the rain stick as a cleansing mechanism, just to cleanse the space, to bring in love, to bring in joy, and just to bring in an energy that we can carry on to our Q&A, where we are in this space of interconnectedness, that we are using the energies and the elements, somewhat like water, to hold this really beautiful flow and containment of things that nurture our earth and our body. What you can do with the breath is, as the stick goes up and down, and as you hear the sounds go from high to low, you can match the breath with that. So on an inhale, I'm going to draw the stick for you. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. One more inhale. One inhale. See if you can hold your breath there. Before I conclude, what I do want to do is also ground you in your space. I want to do a practice that we've seen a lot of our Black aunties do, our grandmothers, which it is taking the hands. I'm just going to scoot back. But it's taking the hands and it's going like this, right? So you want to squeeze the parts of your body. And one of the really important things that I do in my work is to introduce Black practices that we've always seen. Because these practices are actually scientifically backed. We just didn't know that they were healing practices, right? So when your grandmother, your aunt would say, girl, I have to keep that blood flowing, right? Or I have diabetes and I gotta keep that stuff going and moving in my body, and that's really true. So you have fascia that wraps all around your body like a ribbon. And when we experience trauma, especially, the fascia starts to harden. And if you can think about it, it's kind of the binding to a book. So when trauma happens, conversations goes on with your cells, and your body's built to protect you, and your mind is built to protect you, which is why sometimes these stories can sometimes feel like our worst enemies, because we can be in a space where we are safe, but our body is feeling as if it's unsafe. And so just want you to, as we go along this practice, you cannot see my feet. Know that my feet are planted to the ground. I'm trying to scoot back as far as I can. My feet are planted to the ground. I'm going to start at my ankles. I can't reach my ankles right now, but if I could, I would. So I want you to start at your ankles. I want you to keep your feet planted to the ground. I'm going to guide you do the breath work as we go up our body and affirm parts of our body, and let that binding know that it can loosen up a little bit, that it doesn't have to keep our stories so tightly bound to our body, that it can flow, it can share. And so when you go through your Q&A, not only are you honoring the stories that the truth tellers told, but you can also have a space to honor your own story as you allow it to flow through your body. And that is what we're going to affirm, to try to break up some of that interconnectedness that our tissues have. So symbolically, and it is a scientific thing too. Chemically, it does release some things when you do this. I'm not gonna lie, doing this so close, doing it for a couple of rounds definitely is a little bit more therapeutic than doing it just one time. But just know that anytime throughout this experience or going forward, this is a really beautiful practice for you to have with your body, with your breath, with your mind, with your experience. Okay, so we're gonna plant our feet. The first thing that I want you to do is to pick up your toes. Place them down. Pick up your heels. Place them down. Take a deep inhale in here. Exhaling, pressing against your knees, bringing your feet closer to the ground, bringing the earth closer to your feet. Really feeling one with the earth there. Take your hands, draw them down your shins. Be really gentle with your body. Your body is such a beautiful space. You don't have to be rough. I want you to squeeze at the pressure in which feels good to you, but squeeze those ankles. And if you can't reach all the way down, you can actually go one by one if you like as well, if that is uncomfortable for your body too. And I want you to, we're gonna do it together, okay? So our hands are here on our ankles. We're gonna take a deep inhale in here. Exhale, we're gonna draw our hands up towards our shins, going up towards our knee. When you get to your knee, I want you to rest. Here we're going to affirm. We're going to thank this part of our body for holding us, for grounding us into the ground when we felt beneath it, when we felt as if the earth was on top of us. We're going to thank our feet for being planted in ways that we have never really set out space to thank it for. We're going to thank our shins for keeping us upright, and thank our knees for being flexible at times in which we were rigid, for holding us up when we felt like falling, crashing. Thank your knees for bending for every prayer that you've prayed on your knees, for every prayer that your auntie, that your mom, that your grandmother, that your foremothers prayed for you. And as you breathe here, know that you're breathing into this part of your body, you're breathing into this lower half of you. All the parts that miss you, all the parts that work for you, all the parts that are rooting for you. Take a deep breath in here, holding it, allowing that binding to break up. Exhale out. We're gonna also bring now our hands up from our knees and going up our thighs. And then I want you to reach your hips. Take your time getting there. Take your time. Squeeze those thighs as much as you want to. Your hips, they hold you. They hold you as they held you when you were in the womb, as they protected you before you were even here. As they expanded as you became more of a woman. As they expanded when your stories began to expand. As they have many stories of joy and even sometimes of violation. We hold our hands here and we grip our hips. We grip them in a way that we tell them that I am here. I feel you. I love you. I am so thankful that you are here with me. That you have sat with me in rooms where I've received the best news of my life. That you have sat with me in rooms where I was the most fearful. That you have been with me to hold me in. I thank you, hips. I love you, hips. I love the hips of all Black women that hold them, that keep them feeling protected and cared for, that allows them to expand and to explore, to twist and to turn, to bend over backwards and to bend over forwards and to stand upright. Hips, I want to thank you. Let the next breath you breathe be the breath that you want to give to your hips. It can be loud, it can be quiet. It can sound anything from an inhale that is gentle, and an exhale that is barely heard, to an inhale that is hard, to an exhale that is loud. But we're here and we're closing our eyes and we're thanking our hips. And thanking the hips of all the women that we know and all the women that we hold and that we feel within our own experience. And now I want you to take your hands and we're going to wrap those hands around our being. Around you. It's a low hug, right? We're sometimes used to hugging up this way, which is a beautiful experience as well. But right now, I want you to feel your chest having space. I want you to push that heart out. So wrap the sides of your body, bringing that chest up, bringing that chest out, bearing that chest in this moment and in this space, raw and bare. But knowing that we're held and we're protected and we're loved. Go ahead and take a gentle rock forward and rock back. Find your breath here, your natural and original breath. Take a deep inhale in, going forward. Exhale out, going back. Inhale in, drawing the body forward. Exhale out, coming back center. Now I want you to place those hands up. We know what those hands can do. And lately, this image has been seen and placed with us surrendering in ways to our oppressors. But I want you to surrender to the one who loves you most, to the Most High. I want you to surrender to all the Black women who love you, who are in this space with you. I want you to send them love, send them support. In your breaths that you take, you say and you affirm, I see you. I feel you. Your story is my story, and my story is your story. And it is safe here. Taking a deep inhale in, we push those hands forward. Holding that breath, keeping those hands pushed forward. We're going to take an exhale out. I want you to open up your eyes, no matter where your gaze has been. And I want you to see me. I love you. I am so happy that you are here. I am so proud of you for being here, for taking care of yourself, for doing what you need to do for you, even when it's hard, even when you feel like you're doing it wrong. I want you to trust your woman, to listen to your Black woman first. And as you learn to listen to other Black women today and going forward, that we hold a really special and gentle space for their stories. That we find the interconnectedness between what they're saying to us and what we felt before in our own lives. The breath is a beautiful thing. And if you ever feel as if you're losing yourself or you're losing your grounding, know that your breath will take you very far. It has been with you before anything or anyone was with you. I honor you, I honor your breath, and know that your revolution is your healing. I conclude this breathwork practice. I really thank you for being here. I appreciate Sharee and Carissa and Erica and all of the women who referred me to Sharee and with this project. I am carrying little Kaio here. He was with us as well in our practice. And he loves you too. He loves all Black women. He protects all Black women already. And I hope that you enjoy the conclusion of your experience with the Q&A with the Truth Tellers. And if you ever need to contact me, I have my actual cell phone number on my website. And you can learn more about me on hold3.com. All right, much peace and big love.
Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you for taking a moment to breathe. It's so necessary after engaging with the film. And like Datiana said, it, I'm sure, reminded you of some of the things you've experienced in your life. So we just wanted to give you space to kind of release and to recalibrate, just to get ready for the Q&A. So if you're still here, if you're ready for the Q&A, let me know in the comments. I'm going to put, make sure we put Datiana's website. I'll share it with you. So her website is hold3.com. So if you would like to book a breathing session or another wellness session with her, she's an amazing person to do that with, and she will help you take care of yourself and lead you in the right direction. So let's see, Q&A. I have a little little scroll that I want to share with you that kind of shows how we can process the questions, so that we can make sure we go through and get all of your questions answered. So give me just a second to get all of that ready. Thank you. All right. Looks like we have almost everyone here. Brittney, can you turn your camera on, or we can't see you yet? Ah, there she is.
Hey.
Welcome, Leah, Candace, Carissa, Brittney. How are y'all doing?
Oh, hello.
Okay.
Doing pretty good.
Good. Thank you for joining.
Hi.
You all doing good today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we already have a couple of questions coming in. So here is one, which is from Cassandra Ray. She says, what does depression, quote unquote, look like? What's the difference between depression and just sadness? So anybody want to take that question? Maybe Brittney?
I just it has a certain look. I think as far as the difference between depression and sadness, I'll let the doc chime in on that. But I don't think that it has a certain look. I think if you asked all of us, it looked different for each of us. So that's how I would answer that.
Yeah, for sure. And like my role as the healer here, I'm just gonna follow up unless you all have specific questions for me because I want to yield the floor to the tellers. But as far as
what the difference is. Everyone has like sad days, but the difference between being sad and being depressed is actually the state of time. So if it's prolonged, if it's persistent. So if you like have kind of an off week, something happens and it's like, okay, I'm sad for now, but you're still able to do all your everyday activities, that's sadness. If it's been 2 weeks or more, so that's like where the magic like capture is in the time. It has to be prolonged 2 weeks or more of you feeling having like a loss of interest, no energy, low energy, things like that.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Like Carissa said, one of the things that we did want to kind of do was basically deconstruct what people assume depression looks like, or what people who are struggling with depression looks like. So as through all the women sharing their different stories, you see that literally anybody in any type of profession, in any professional job or passion, can have mental health challenges. And so we just want to um, just show something different, and but then also, like Brittany said, let you know what some of the signs are. And I feel like the women adequately, let us know what some of those things are, like not being able to eat, not being able to sleep. Your day to day becomes difficult. So thank you for that question. Thank you. That's a really good one that a lot of people just need help with. So we have a question from Joyce for Carissa and Candace. Let me put that on. She says, do either of you remember experiencing any childhood memories of depression?
I Yes and no. Um, I guess the earliest I could remember childhood quote unquote depression, it came when my uncle was tragically killed in a car accident. I think that was a time for in my family that we all experienced sadness. But I think I realized it was depression, but I just didn't want to acknowledge it. And I was so young, I was 10. So I was like, yeah, you're too young to be depressed. So I didn't really think too much of it because it went past grieving. It just kind of affected our everyday life, and it affected my everyday life. So I think that was the earliest I can say that I remember experiencing depression.
And Mia, Joyce clarified that the question is also for you as well. She didn't recognize you with your hair change. So.
Let's just give it up one time for Mia.
Yeah. Brittany's as well. Brittany had those locks, and those locks were no more. So. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But I was actually thinking about that, and nothing comes to mind, honestly, as far as experiencing depression. I would not be surprised if I actually took time to sit in that question and try to like reflect on my childhood, that I probably would find a season where I went through that. But as of right now, nothing's coming to mind.
Yeah, I would say the same as Mia. I feel like probably, but I was so focused, on some points during childhood on just kind of, getting by that I'm not stopping to think about that. And then again, I didn't know anybody who went to therapy or who like dealt with mental health issues growing up, at least that I knew of. And so I didn't even have the words to say like I'm depressed, and so I think if I really thought about it, probably so, but I wouldn't have thought to say that's what it was.
Okay. Datiana has a question. She says, what daily rituals have you all personally created to help you cope with PTSD or depression? One thing I do want to mention is that I did want to be able to dive a little deeper into the ways that we all cope. that will be, I'll send that like as a resource list for assistance after that. But Mia mentioned something to me during our first interview that I was like, wow, like I never even thought of that. And it was some type of like cream or something that you create. So if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So if you can answer that question and incorporate that, that would be amazing.
Right, I had to think about it for a second. And so, and thank you for reminding me because I need to make some. I haven't used any in quite some time.
Make me some too.
Okay. So basically, it's like a magnesium body butter. And so what I learned just through research is that when your body is stressed, when you are stressed, your body robs your bones of magnesium to combat the stress hormones that's like pumping through your body. So you need to replenish that. And so you can either take an Epsom salt bath or I came across a magnesium body butter recipe where I just would rub it on my body like before bed or specifically in moments where I feel like my anxiety is rising, where I feel like I'm kind of separating from myself. And I didn't immediately believe that it was something that worked until literally I used it while I was freaking out, for lack of better words. And I immediately began to notice my body come down. And it was really wild. And I don't want to try to paint it like a picture like it was too extreme, but the extreme of the anxiety that was rising, I noticed myself gradually just coming down from that. And so I think a daily ritual for me for sure is to take my vitamins and to take my medication. There are a lot of other things that I play with and I'm still trying to build my daily ritual, but having certain teas, Tulsi tea that has certain herbs to combat stress, making sure I'm taking different vitamins that I know can keep me functioning, with like iron, which or like fatigue. If you are fatigued, that's like an open question. So I try to stay up on that.
Anyone else want to share their any rituals, daily rituals that help?
I think that's something I need to improve on, to be honest. I do definitely make sure I take my vitamins, especially as we're going into winter when, the sun is about to disappear. I did just recently get like one of those happy lights because a lot of people suggested that when I asked, how do you get ready? I think if you take medications, make sure you take them every day because keeping them, isn't smart. So I make sure I do that. And I'm really big on like scents and smells. So when I shower in the morning, I use either like citrus or mint soap to kind of like hype me up, that to wake me up, or if I need to kind of wind down, use like a lavender or something like that. So those are a few of the things. In therapy, it's like non-negotiable. So that though either if it's once a week or twice a week, that time is just like that time. So I don't move it unless something like drastic happens.
Okay. Those are all good, very good things. Like I'm all about natural remedies if I can use something natural just to help get through the moment. Another question Cassandra had was about joy. How do you get your joy back or overcome waiting for the next shoe to drop?
Ooh. Yeah, I think that's another one. I'm still working on. And like what's challenging, and I talk to my therapist about this all the time, is because it's not an irrational fear to wait for the other shoe to drop, because that shoe does drop, like it does, right? And so it's just about for me now is okay, I know things are gonna happen. So what can I do to prepare for that? So how can I, what tools do I have in my toolbox? What strategies do I have for when things happen? Because what I noticed is that it's so hard to process stuff because stuff keeps happening. So it's like I can't process the big trauma because every time you look up, there's like another thing. So it's not necessarily irrational, but what I have to do is try as hard as possible to place myself in the right now. Or else I could always be looking towards the future, and then next thing I know, life is just gone.
Yeah. That's definitely a big thing. Um, and I've learned how to do the same thing just over the last year or so. Like realizing that we don't have control over life or what happens, but we can, like you mentioned, put tools in place to help us cope with them until we can, go receive the professional help we need, or until we can talk to someone. So just like you have tools in the house for when something breaks and it breaks, they're there
Right.
when you need them, and it's nice to just have a collection of those for whatever may arise, because you really never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I
So,
add something that Carissa said?
mhm.
Just something that's like really key that my therapist has been like pushing me to practice more is staying present. Because I am someone that can easily get lost in the past or in the future. And I work against myself, and I also risk traumatizing myself because if I continue to practice that. And so I've had to be really intentional on living in the day. And when I do that, life is a lot more manageable, and I just feel more equipped than when I am trying to when I get lost in preparing for the future. And it's not to say you don't, you absolutely need to prepare, but I think I've been learning to balance preparing for the other shoe to drop while still literally living in the present. But I cannot control what's going to happen down the road, and I can't continue living in what I already
Yeah, and I'd
Yeah.
like to add, what I try to teach people that I work with is that, yeah, the next shoe will drop, but you also have shoes on your feet. So if you have something within you or on you that you can use, start with your strengths and what you have in the moment, right? Also being thoughtful and aware of doing your best not to anticipate a war that's not happening. A lot of folks who I work with anxiety will already be anticipating the next move, or like, if this happened, I'm gonna do this. It's like, whoa. Don't like gear up for a war that hasn't happened, and it might not even ever happen. Some of these things are very rational and they're very real, but I think there is a difference between adapting and then prepping yourself in a way that's boosting your fight or flight versus your responses. So whatever you can do to, like the women are saying, keep yourself in the moment, but also understand that like some of the things that are flowing through your mind, through your body, through your heart might just be fears. And like, let's take a look at those and unpack those with the people we love, with our therapist, so that we can help ourselves stay in a calm state.
So I agree with everything everybody else has said. Especially with Sharee, you have to. I know me and my therapist have been working with realizing that I am not in control. Like that is so important to realize and to understand, because when you live life thinking that you're in control and trying to control everything, that's when you get in that place of high anxiety, and then you find yourself depressed and your thoughts are racing, and it's like, oh man, this is not the life I'm supposed to be living. Like I'll never experience joy if I continue walking like, oh, I have everything in control, and if I can't control it, then I don't want that a part of my life. So that's something that I'm learning. I'm learning to relinquish my control and to rely on my faith, honestly, to rely on the faith that I have in Jesus Christ, that He is the one that can provide that joy that I'm seeking. If I just be still and listen to what He's saying, and if I pace myself, like this race is not a run. This life is not a race. It's a steady walk. So I found myself running when I should be walking. So once I realized that I need to walk and I need to steady my thoughts,
that's when I realized that joy is obtainable, and that joy is something that I can get, and it's something that I can keep. So
Yeah, definitely. Um,
Mhm.
so we have a couple other questions. Karen asked, can you recommend any good apps for anxiety and depression? And I'll mention one that I've used myself, or actually a couple. One of them is the Shine app, which we're actually doing giveaway soon for. And the other is called Headspace. So Headspace is a meditation app. They have apps for literally everything. If you want to go take a walk and clear your mind, to help you go to sleep, when you wake up in the morning, if you're in a moment and you're feeling stressed out, there are meditations just for that. So that's one tool. And then Shine also has it has articles. It has a daily check-in, a daily place for you to write how you're feeling and what you're experiencing. They also have meditations in there, and there's also a community where you can connect with other people who are also having mental health challenges, or just want to, connect from day to day and see how everyone is doing. So those are two that I know about that I use, and really help me to stay grounded throughout, life.
Yeah, there's Talkspace. There's also Calm. There are a ton of like white noise apps, or if you need things to help you fall asleep. There are a ton of apps where you can track your mood. And I'm blanking on some of the names of them. But if you were to go in like your Google store, or go where you like typically purchase your apps, if you put in mental health, there will be a ton that like come up. And I try to keep a few on hand, but really because everyone's experience is so different, I really want you to take the time to find one that makes sense to you and that will work for you. Because I think oftentimes it's like, oh, this is a good app, but is it a good app for you? So that's just like a secondary question to ask yourself as you're looking.
Anybody else
I have
use
a
it?
question about the apps.
Say it
Has
again.
any? I have a question about the apps. So I have not tried any. I haven't tried any apps for like meditation. But I just kind of want to know: has anyone kind of found it to be a little counterproductive? And I'm not that I've experienced it, obviously, but I'm just wondering. Um, when you're using apps for like meditation and things like that, kind of like using something that's drawing you closer to your phone. And I'm wondering if that kind of maybe works for you, because I know a lot of people have mentioned like I actually need to be away from my phone
Yes.
more. The more that I'm
Yes.
on it, the things like kind of increase. And so that's my question.
yeah, for me, it adds to my anxiety. If I'm just gonna be honest, it just makes me more anxious because I'm always on my phone. So I'm now trying to train myself to stay away from my phone. So I can't add any apps to it that that focus on anxiety or being calm or meditating, because I pick up my phone, I'm like, oh my God, no, I need to put it down because I was just on it 5 seconds ago. So it kind of overwhelms me. So I don't use them in a sense. I know they have they're good tools, but for me personally, I can't.
Yeah, one thing that I had to do, and I do it for literally all my apps except for maybe two of them, is I don't have any notifications at all. I don't have on the iPhone, it has the red circle with the numbers. I turn that off because I don't anytime I see it, I feel like I have to go look, and like you said, I'll be on there all day. Literally, I have had to like retrain myself for like when I get up in the morning, because I would get up in the morning, the first thing I would do I have any texts? Did somebody, and it was to the point where I would get on the phone and it's taking an hour of my morning, and I haven't read my devotional, I haven't written in my journal. Now I'm trying to rush through the rest of my day. So I like put it somewhere where it's not easily accessible when I first wake up. I have times where I literally delete the apps from my phone. I'm actually getting ready to do like a month long detox because I normally do it at least 2 or 3 times a year, and I haven't done it at all this year. So I'm thankful that I'm even, like calm and all that stuff, because usually I would just be just out of sorts. But yeah, social media and digital is definitely a source of anxiety, and I'm still trying to transform the way that I interact with it, from in being impulsive or, comparing myself to using it as a tool, but it's hard for me. So I've kind of had to let somebody else kind of work it for me until I can get to that point. But I love that. So Brittney did a takeover of my IG yesterday. She actually talked about digital wellness. That's definitely a vital part. Like if you're on your phone all day, where is your time for you? Where's your time for tuning in and seeing how you're doing? Spending time with those family members, that's precious because I mean, like we said, life happens and we never know. But Brittney, can you talk a little bit about digital wellness?
Yeah, absolutely. So the takeover was super fun. And I think that was probably one of the topics that we got the most conversation about because, like Candace was saying, it's like we're constantly in a fight with our attention, with our phones, the notifications, pinging. The average adult is online at least 6 hours a day on their phone. And then if you do get distracted, it takes you about 25 minutes to get back and get back to your routine. So within some of these apps, and cultivating your digital well-being, use the grayscale apps. Like for me, I have the Google Dashboard app where at 10 o'clock every night, my screen goes gray until 7 a.m. And that discourages me from using the phone because it's not as pretty, it's not as flashy, right? Also, you can set it to where you can set how many times you actually unlock your phone. And then if you hit your goal for the day or like miss your goal for the day, that's your opportunity to look back and see like, okay, was I more anxious during this time? Was there actually something happening? But digital well-being is establishing that relationship, that healthy relationship with tech. And so like, I want all the women to think about what do I want the role to play? If it is that I want to explore apps like Mia is, kind of talking to, how can I use this in a way that's not going to distract me from my goals? And so becoming aware of your personal use, becoming aware of the benefits of using tech when you're in control. So like we've understood that we need to let go of control in a lot of areas in life. Tech is actually one of the ones you need to have the control, or it's very, very easy to become sidetracked. So yeah, so digital wellness and digital well-being is being thoughtful of how often and what your relationship is like with your wearable tech, your phones, and your laptops. So yeah, do not disturb is another great one. Also, like I check my emails only twice a day. Do not constantly go through and go in and check your emails. Unsubscribe from all these newsletters that you're not using because again, it's just another reason to get you to check or do something that's different from the path that you have for your day.
Yeah, definitely. I saw this post a few weeks ago that just talked about mental health, and a lot of times we confine it to the mind and the chemicals and things that are going on in the mind, but they called out that mental health is also nutrition and physical health and spiritual health and emotional health. It's all those things together. So I think that's one thing to understand is that everything you do and spend your time on is part of that collection of mental wellness. And it's important to like take stock and see where you are with each of them. And if you need to change something, then, take those steps. So we have a few more questions, and then we'll move on to the giveaway. But let's see. Joyce asked about mental health stigma in the Black community. So she said, why is receiving help regarding mental health such a stigma in the Black community?
It's our culture, unfortunately. In the African American culture, it's kind of an unspoken rule to be quiet. Don't tell my business. What's going on in this house stays in this house. And that's kind of how it's portrayed. It's portrayed in everyday life. It's portrayed in movies, conversations, that if so-and-so is beating you, that's not anybody else's business. That stays in this house. So we have to get past the point of suffering in silence. Like it's never okay to be experiencing trauma, especially in the home, and being silent about it. I understand you don't want people in your business, or your parents don't want their business out on the street, or your family members, but how long will you suffer because somebody else wants you to be silent? So we have to get away from the norm of the culture of being silent when things should be shared. Because when you share it, you can heal it. When you reveal it, you can heal it. So I think that's one of the things that plagues us is we're silent. We're too silent. We're too private. We're too secretive about what hurt us, or, you know, what happened in our childhood and even what's happening now.
I think another reason or another factor that kind of has the stigma is, I don't know if you would consider this a trauma response, but a lot of black families did it from a place of protection. As far as community. And when you're talking about the whole, like, what happens in this house stays in this house, I think that whole thing came from, like, what happens if what's happening inside of that house, if it's known, like, the threat that could come to the black family, whatever's happening inside of your house gets out. But then also, I've taken the time to kind of like do some homework to ask myself and analyze, like, why has there been such resistance against, like, medical professionals, and why is it that we take on this, like, burden to treat ourselves and diagnose our and just, like, get through it. And so I think that a lot of us have to wrestle with our history and even our present to address a lot of the that was going to causing it. Is that me making that sound? Or?
I'm not sure, but I was gonna ask if you can put your earbuds in. I think that'll help a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Okay.
Is that better?
A little bit.
To hear it. Okay. And so I was just saying that I think a lot of what has come from that stigma is, I think, a consequence of the harm that was done. And so we have taken it upon ourselves to try to diagnose ourselves and figure it out ourselves because there isn't trust in the medical community. So I know personally, I'm not trying to pass that on, whether it's to my nieces and my nephews or if it's children that I have. So I'm trying to do my best to combat that narrative and find trustworthy medical professionals for my life.
Yeah, there was I have a lot of thoughts kind of swirling about this question that I've been trying to get into like a paragraph that's understandable. And I think for me, you know, first I want to say that most people of color, not just Black folks, have trust issues when it comes to medical professionals, as Mia said. So I don't want not seeking mental health services to be painted as a Black thing. And I say that because I wonder what it would have been like for a woman in my lineage 3, 4, generations back to try and find a therapist. How would she have done that? What would have been at risk for her to say to some well-off white person that she's struggling to raise her babies, or she's been sad for 6 months, or she can't get out of bed, right? And so, like Mia said, those things are passed down. Don't be talking to them people because they might try to take you. They might try to lock you away. And that very well could have been the outcome. And so, like, those things are just ingrained in us. And even still, there's a lack of Black professionals, right? For a whole bunch of other reasons about why it's hard for Black people to even get into the field. That's a long story. But like, all of those are reasons why. Like, how can I confide in you? You don't come from where I come from. You don't know what I know. You're gonna judge me before before I even open my mouth. So I think sometimes it's just too easy to say, well, Black people don't do that, when it's just far more complicated than that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I just like to I agree with everything. And the last point that I would say is the education. Like, we don't have an adequate or accurate picture of what mental health looks like. Besides the scary images, besides, everybody might have someone in their family who is isolated, and that becomes something that you don't want to become. So we don't talk about it. We don't have the language. I love when Mia said that in the film. Having language matters. So when you feel like you have a dark cloud over you, if you have the language to speak that, then somebody can help you understand. Well, your days shouldn't be dark all the time. They shouldn't be heavy. I'm hopeful that that can change, but I think that that also adds and fuels the stigma, is because we just don't understand it, and we don't have the language all the time to help each other even understand it.
Right. Yeah, that's a multi-layered, multi-decade, century long answer to that question. Um, I'm gonna do a couple of more questions. I know someone asked about, is there a community for women to share, what they're experiencing and what they're going through. And I'm actually brainstorming a digital, because with the pandemic and everything, a digital Black Girl Blue, Black Girl Blue, the community. So that will be a space for women to connect. There will be like group therapy sessions, sessions where people can ask some of the questions that they're asking in the comments that we won't have to answer today. Very specific questions about mental health and how to manage. Um, so I'm brainstorming that and looking into that. If you have any ideas, please feel free to share them with me. But I would like to launch that soon, because there's so many pressures and different things that we're going through. With the election coming up, it's the holiday time. I usually deal with seasonal depression, so I'm doing what I need to do to get through that. So more information will be coming soon. We'll talk about that a little later as well. So there are two or three more things that I want to make sure we get through. And I want to do quick responses because it's already 3. I don't want to take too much people's time. So one of them was from Wesley. How do you cope with triggers of anxiety, especially when they're in the workplace or public?
That's a good one.
Candace, during our interview, you actually talked about some of those things. I didn't get to include it, but you definitely mentioned some of those too.
Yeah, so for me personally, it was recognizing, acknowledging those triggers. And if I had control over them, then I wouldn't place myself in those types of situations. So shortly after the gun incident, I didn't want to be around groups of people because they move too much. I don't know what you're reaching in your purse for. I don't know what you're reaching in your pocket for. You pulling out a gun, you could be pulling out a pencil, but I don't know. And that was a trigger for me. So I stopped going to places where I knew there would be big crowds. Now, if there was a place I had to go, I made sure I had somebody that I trusted with me. Somebody I could just give a look and they know, okay, hey, we need to leave. Somebody that understood my trigger, somebody that understood that, oh, she's getting a little overwhelmed. We should go somewhere else. Or if you cannot escape going to the workplace, of course we can't because we all need a coin. But if there's times where you can just steal away and take some deep breaths, I like to write notes in my phone. I pray I text my prayer, and I just jot down on my phone what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. And I speak that I am safe and that I am loved and that nothing is going to come to harm me or hurt me, and that I am strong and I can do it. And I just take that time to decompress. And then when I'm ready to go back, I go back and, I go back and try to do the best that I can to finish out what I started.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So reiterating what Candace said, you want to have emergency contact. So whether that be people who are physically with you that know, your typical, your baseline, or people you can call. Like I really do suggest that y'all contact 3 to 5 people that you can build that trust with. Put them in a group in your phone, and when you're out in public or you're at work and you're having a moment, you can hit those people in order. One quick exercise that you can do is a grounding exercise by starting by saying, I am safe, and then start looking at stuff around you. So there's a chair here. I can see the desk here. What that does is that helps you come back to where you safely are, and it might keep the room from spinning. It might keep you from spiraling out of control if you can grasp what is readily and safely around you. So that's just like a quick grounding exercise that you can try when you feel like you're being triggered in public.
Great. Amazing. Love it. Love it. Hopefully that helps, Wesley. The last two things Cassandra said, so I don't know if I'm probably not Facebook friends with all of you all, but this week I posted something about extreme independence being a result of trauma. Experiences where you weren't able to trust or depend on other people caused you to feel like I have to do everything myself because if I trust anybody else to it, they're not going to do it right. They're not going to come through. So this is Cassandra's question. So how do we let go and let others help versus trying to be strong Black women doing and handling it all?
I'll start.
When we
I know it's like that's the thing that we're all like handling right now. But I would say like understanding you are allowed to be soft and vulnerable. You gotta open your hands to receive. If your hands are always closed, there is no way that you can receive help and support. So like little ways that I do it is I will make a list of things to ask for, right? And even if like I can do it myself, I make a habit to practice. I vet my people who I ask because a lot of times our distress or our heartbreak comes from asking the wrong people. If we just being completely honest, so not that it's on them, but like taking more responsibility to if this person never shows up, why would I call them in the time of need? Maybe they're not the best person, and that hurts because sometimes those are your spouses, your partners, the people you really love and care about, but coming to an acceptance, but that they're not the person for the job right now. So I think assessing who it is you're asking, practicing asking, and then give yourself like little things to build up and trust. Like start with something that's that you'll feel okay about if it doesn't happen, and almost increase the severity of the ask or like your needs. But practice in a safe environment is key. And knowing Black women that like you don't have all the answers. You are made to feel that way. Yes. It feels like your responsibility to know, hey, I love to give a good I don't know sometimes. And sometimes it's with a followed up by like, oh, but I'll find out. I've even retracted that. If you give an answer, don't explain yourself. Like if you need a mental health day, like, oh, I used to feel like I needed to explain like why my energy's gone. Like now I'm not able to make it. Boom. So trying to to free yourself of the need to hold everything and everybody together because you're going to lose yourself in that process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think. Oh, go ahead, Mia.
No, you can.
I think it's so complicated because I feel like it's something that we learn from birth. Like it's just almost automatic, like as women, and then particularly as Black women, it just kind of is how it is. But then for me personally, like the biggest, issue that I had, one of the biggest issues that I had was with my mother. So when you have like a relationship, an unhealthy or unstable relationship with your mother, the main person who's supposed to take care of you, and you can't rely on her to do that, then that teaches you not to rely on anybody ever for anything, right? And so I had to learn like how to kind of let that go, because that's just not how I should interact with everybody, just because that was my interaction with her. And so I think similarly to what Brittney said, making sure you have people who you can rely on. It's about 4 people that I'm probably gonna ask for anything that's serious, right? Them are the people who demonstrated that I can ask for that. And those 4 people know if I ask you to do something, I need you to do this shit. Like, I'm not just asking like just for fun. It's because I absolutely cannot do it myself. So if you say you can do it, like, I need you to do it. And kind of even explaining that with people, like why you may have hard boundaries like that, or people had to kind of, I have to explain that to people. Like, I don't ask people to do things for me. So like, it really bothers me that you said that you would do this and you didn't. Right? Because sometimes people might be like, whoa, it's not that deep. Like, I just forgot. But it is that deep for me.
Yeah, and those are those powerful I statements. Like you said, I don't ask for anything. And I think Black women, we can use I statements a lot more than we do. We're always caping for somebody's feelings, or try to keep everybody like cool. But like, if you need to use and pull an I statement, please do, and you will feel your power return when you say what you need out loud and you don't second guess that.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm loving this conversation. I can't wait to do this more, because it's just so necessary. Like, there are more questions that we can answer. Like, Shantae, I know you asked something. That's something that I would love for someone to answer in the Black Girl Blue community. And there are some other things that people have said that I'm definitely going to note and keep for later. So thank you for engaging. So the last question is a combination of Erica and Angela's question. So Erica said, what was your experience like working on this project? Did you discover anything new? And then Angela's question was, let's see if I can find it, is, after participating in the film, have you had in-depth conversation with your family? So what did you learn about yourself throughout being a part of this project, and has it changed how you've had conversations with the people in your life? Don't all go at the same time.
I'll go. So what I learned about me, and looking at it from a healer's perspective, is that we've got to do better about being available. And that's always a challenge for us, because we out here trying to make a coin, but it's also so many folks who need help. So that was a hit for me to think about creatively, how do I make sure I make myself more readily available and give better options. What it made me have conversations about with my family, with specifically my mom, and remembering that at one point, she's in her 60s now, but at one point she was a Black girl. And so like, hearing all of your stories, like, helped me give my mom some grace in areas where we either clashed, or when it came to generational differences about mental health, I had to understand she didn't have resources. She didn't have language, and so the portion about being in your business, I had to have a big time conversation with my mom, because I started to notice symptoms of depression. And it wasn't until I talked to her about this film and the stories that came from it, that she was able to say, instead of being like, "Oh, I'm your mom, don't worry about me," she was able to say, "Actually, this does sound like how some of my days went after this thing happened. And can you check on me and ask me about that another time when I think about it?" So that was a huge breakthrough, coming from who was the oldest of 10, had to take care of a sick mother and all of her siblings, to finally be in a space where she's giving grace and compassion to herself, but other people who are actively managing their mental health as well.
Yeah, yeah. I would say one thing I learned about myself as I went through the experience of the interviews and actually filming the documentary is that I'm still not comfortable telling my story. I've grown in that year a lot. when it comes to what I communicate and how I communicate it. But even when I'm looking back at my own interview, I can see a lot of discomfort. I can see myself fighting that in my body, in my posture, even in the words, the pace of my words, how I speak. And a lot of that just comes with maybe, or can be fixed with like training. And that's why, like, just as actors, they tell you to watch yourself so that you can like see where you need to improve. And so I've changed because I've been able to watch myself more, but specifically this experience has highlighted the part of me that is still uncomfortable telling my story, but it has also encouraged me to become comfortable in talking about my experiences and to understand that there's power in the more that I'm able to relax and not be so consumed by what people might think about my story.
Yeah, this process it helped me to stop downplaying what I've experienced in life. I think as a coping mechanism, I kind of downplayed it, and I looked at others. And I'm like, man, they're going through way worse, you know. And so this process helped me to acknowledge that what I did experience, it was traumatic. It indeed was traumatic, and it's okay. It's okay that I experienced that trauma. It also helped me to become okay with letting people know, yeah, I have a clinical diagnosis of anxiety and depression, and I'm medicated, and it's okay. I'm not a weirdo. I'm not different. I just take medication to regulate myself. So it kind of empowered me and released me to be able to share that these are the struggles that I live with. They are not who I am. They are just something that I navigate through. They are things I navigate through. And then I have the strength, the power, the courage, and the knowledge to overcome these things. So I feel very empowered being able to share my story with others. And it encouraged me that others would be impacted by it and feel empowered to seek out help.
Yeah, I think all of that is, I'm just like, I don't know. I just think this is so important that that's the biggest thing that I learned. I think every time I would post something about my own mental health struggles or my own, grief or whatever, the amount of people who would reach out to me afterwards is what kind of made me realize that talking about it was important, because these are people who, nobody would have thought, oh, she struggles with this because look at all like the things that she's done, right? Or the accomplishments that she has, who would have thought she had been through these horrendous things, And so when I started talking about it, other people who I wouldn't have thought were struggling would start reaching out. And that kind of let me know that it was important to just keep talking about it, even if I was like, oh my God, I wish I would stop crying, or oh my God, this or that, or embarrassed about, whatever. But it was like, what is it to be embarrassed about? Because most people, I feel like more people these days struggle than those who don't with some sort of mental health issue. It may not be as severe as post-traumatic stress disorder like I have, but it may be something else. And then I also think that just, for where we are right now in the times, the message of this film is just so important, because time and time again, Black women are called on to save civilization. And it's just like, well, what if Black women just started divesting from all of y'all and only just thought about ourselves?
Yes.
Like, then what would happen?
Okay.
Like, what would happen? If we did that, and hell, I'm still kind of rooting for us to do that, to go somewhere and just like make a commune or something. But people just, they don't think about Black women unless it's how we can be in service to them. And for me, being a part of this film is just a big middle finger to that.
Marissa, seeing you cry in the film, and I know Candace talked about how crying can be uncomfortable. I really, as Black women, I want us to reclaim our emotions and like whatever it has been painted on us or given to us. Yeah. No, seriously, like it was cleansing for me to see. And I know so many Black girls and Black women who watch this film are going to be like, oh my God, I'm seen. Oh my gosh. Like, because we saw a Black woman cry and
Cry.
seeing,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, just
Yes.
cry. Seeing Candace's posture, seeing Mia, and like I know you were saying, like looking at your performance, looking back, but I think people need to see that. People need to see Black women as human, as suffering out loud, as reliving trauma out loud, because we hold it and we saw Black women release it. That's the other exciting part. So
Yes.
somebody joy. That was the joy for me in seeing and witnessing that. And so I'm so thankful to all of you and to Sharee for putting this film together. And don't compare your mental health journey. Comparison
Yeah.
is the thief of joy and power.
Yes.
Don't compare it. What you do
Yeah.
and what some other woman does is okay. It's both y'all journeys.
Yeah.
Carissa, I just want to hug you.
I know I want to hug all of y'all. Let's hug.
Okay, for real. For
Yes.
real.
I
For
love it.
real.
So I do want to share just how this process has changed me or impacted me.
Yes.
I started off this afternoon by sharing my story and how having family members with mental health impacted me, and how other people's responses basically made me hurt even further and suffer even more in silence. One thing that I did realize throughout this process is that I still have some things to work through, as we all do. I There was some trauma that I definitely needed to process and confront in order to heal from. Literally over the last month or so, I've done therapy. It's called EMDR therapy, where you basically kind of like sit in your trauma and process and go through like what was going through your mind, what were you feeling, what were you thinking during this thing that happened and afterward, and what did you take on and root within yourself from that experience. So just confronting those things and uprooting them has given me space to really heal and attach to and hold on and just soul within the core of my soul the truth, about who I am and who I am able to become in spite of what I've been through. So just hearing all of your stories and having Brittney and Tracy come in with the wisdom, with the truth of it, has just encouraged me to be more honest about what I'm going through, to give other women space to share what they're going through, and to, just throw away all the shame and the guilt that comes with it, because it is what it is. But I mean, it doesn't have to determine our life, but it's a part of it. So I'm just grateful and so thankful for this process. I can't believe 2 years ago I came up with the idea. A year later, the film was done, and now here we are showing it to you all. So I'm so grateful, and I know some big things that are going to happen with this film. Hopefully, it sets a lot of women free, a lot of Black men as well. I found out this morning that The Root did included the Black Girl Blue trailer in one of his articles. I wasn't expecting that at all, so that's absolutely amazing. And
My girl magic.
I know, right? It's special. And then Black Girl Blue was accepted into a film festival, which is going to be screening on October 23rd, I think, through the first week of November. So I'll make sure I share all of that information with you. But a couple of people keep telling me, like, try to get it on Netflix, get on Netflix. And they hadn't even seen the film. I'm like, you haven't seen it? You talking about putting it on Netflix? Okay, I guess. If that's what you think. But, God knows. There's a plan for this, and if as many people see it as possible, that would be amazing, because all of us need to be free from some things. So that's definitely the goal. But somebody asked if I'm going to do another campaign to raise funds. Actually, there's something I want to share about that. Thankful to you all for your donations. We're able to offer 2 free therapy sessions to another Black woman. So through the campaign we did over the summer, it was 5 women who received 2 free sessions. Now a 6th woman will receive free sessions. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So if you want to continue to donate to that fund, you can go back to the Eventbrite page. Donations will be open through the end of the year, or you can go to blackgirlblue.com/mental health fund and you can donate there. Honestly, my goal is to be able to provide like hundreds more Black women with free therapy. So I'm gonna put that out there. I'm gonna plant that seed, and I'm believing that it'll flourish. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just thank you all for being here and for telling your stories, for being so open and honest. This project could not have happened with any of you. Same with all the people who are watching. This could not be possible without you. And I'm just so full of love. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So do you all have any final words? Anything else you want to say before we go into the giveaways?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you to everyone who commented, asked a question. I'm gonna transition over into the giveaway, and then we'll close, and you can enjoy the rest of your Saturday. So thank you each. I love you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you.
Bye.
Love you. Okay, so I'm sure you had enough of that. But let's get on with the giveaways. So I appreciate everyone for sticking here, to this point. We're almost done. I know we're over time, but we started a little later so that some people can join, because some people had issues with the link. But let me get to the giveaways. And we had a lot of people to submit and indicate that they were interested. So before we move along, the 3 giveaways were 2 Shine in All Shades coloring books, which the women who tell their stories in the film know about, because each of them received one the day of their interview. Basically, it's a coloring book that uplifts and empowers women of color from all shades, hence Shine in All Shades. And it's been proven that that coloring is a way to relieve stress, to help you process emotions, to help you, utilize parts of your mind that you don't normally use, as far as strategizing and things like that. The second prize is a free premium year-long Shine app membership. So I mentioned earlier that is one of the apps that I use to help me sometimes, like the women use, sometimes, like the women mentioned earlier, sometimes being on your phone can exacerbate whatever you're experiencing. So if the app or being on your phone is something that doesn't normally help you, then I would suggest to reach out to me, and I'll help you get connected to something else. If you're the winner, but if you're the winner, more than likely, you submitted for it, so apps work for you. But basically, 2 people will receive a coloring book, 2 will receive a membership, and then the last thing is 2 women will receive 2 free therapy sessions. So let's get on to the first. So the winner of the Shine in All Shades coloring books are Felicia P. and Karen Q. If you all are here, please let me know in the comments, because you do have to be present to win. So congratulations, you will receive a Shine in All Shades coloring book. Karen and Felicia, let me know if you're here. So we're going to move on to the next giveaway, which is 2 women will receive a free premium year-long Shine app membership. And those winners are Antoinette A and Tiffany W. Congratulations. Again, congratulations, Antoinette and Tiffany. If you are here, please let me know in the comments. Like I mentioned, you have to be present to win. So let me know. Put something in to let me know you are present. And then the grand finale, which is 2 women will receive 2 free therapy sessions. In order to enter for this giveaway, you had to live in the St. Louis area, just because I'm able to work with a group of trusted Black women, female therapists who are in the area. And I want to make sure we get connected as a community, a local community. But there are resources that will be shared within the next few days with you all. Mental health resources from social media to websites, organizations that offer free therapy, etc. So be on the lookout for that. So let's get to it. The winners of the free therapy sessions are Tanitra C and Alnita H. So y'all like my gifts? Well, no, it's not GIF, it's GIF. I found that out. But y'all like my GIFs? I thought they would make everything a little fun. But congratulations to all the winners. Like I mentioned, if you're here, Felicia P, Karen Q, I saw you. Congratulations. Antoinette A, Tiffany W, Tanitra C, and Alnita H. If you are here, let me know, and I'll make sure that your prizes get to you. So that brings me so much joy to be able to give back and to offer Black women with resources to help them manage their mental health. So I'm excited to be able to do that. And through the Black Girl Blue community, I know we'll be able to do that and so much more. So let's talk about what's next for Black Girl Blue. So if you all can see this what's next graphic and hear me, let me know in the comments. Oh, I know you can see me. I forgot I put that my little face in the corner. Okay, so what's next? So please, 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 I want you to share your Black Girl Blue experience watching the film, the stories in the film on social media. Please use the hashtag Black Girl Blue, BLACKGIRLBLUE. It's in the little circle with the hashtag on the screen. Please follow us on Facebook. Go to blackgirlblue.com and Black Girl Blue on Instagram, and share whichever posts resonate with you that you love the most. Please engage with us on social media because we want as many people as possible to see this film and to know about this film. Next, I'll be sending a film and screening feedback form via email. This might or might not come through Eventbrite. I might send it both ways. But basically, it's asking about your thoughts and experiences with mental health before and after the film. Has your view of mental health changed? Will you now encourage other people to seek mental assistance if it looks like they need help? So that will be forthcoming. The Black Girl Blue Guided Journal is basically a journal that will walk you through the process. If you're experiencing anxiety, you'll go to the anxiety chapter and you'll answer a series of questions that will help you to either manage or know where to turn to seek help. So that will be forthcoming. Like I mentioned during the event, the Black Girl Blue community. So I want to do that through a site called Mighty Hosts. It will be free to join. It will have group therapy, individual therapy, maybe challenges, and specific times for women to share their journeys. And if you would like to sponsor that or know someone who would like to sponsor, that will be absolutely amazing. And then lastly are the Black Girl Blue virtual retreats. So just like this, it will be an event where we watch the film, where we do the breathwork session, but then after that, We would have we would have breakout sessions, so attendees could be able to go to a yoga session or a dancing session or a journaling meditation session, and basically explore different ways and tools to manage their mental health. So that's what the Black Girl Blue Retreat is about. So the last thing, if you would like to help promote this film, help me to make various versions of this film, I could see this being another short doc talking to different women or delving deeper into these women's stories. Send an email to bgb@shareesilerio.com. If you have any comments or want to share anything, let me know via email too, and I'll be happy to respond. So let's get to my last thought, and then you'll meet me back here, and then we'll depart. Thank you so much. All right, so I just wanted to give you that reminder: protect Black women, support Black women, let's love Black women. Let's allow Black women to be their full, authentic selves. I want to thank you for spending your afternoon with me. Thank you for everyone who stayed up until this moment. I appreciate you, your support, your comments, your reactions, your questions. It really means so much to me and touches me to the core of my soul. We are forever connected, and I will always be sending love and light and encouragement your way. Keep up with me on social media. I'm getting ready to get back into the fray of things and start sharing my quotes and wisdom and things that I've learned along the years. And I'll also be working on upcoming projects, also with the same goal to allow Black women and girls to be full human beings on screen and feel loved, heard, and affirmed beyond the screen. So thank you so much for being here. I thank you. May you have an amazing rest of the day and week. And yeah, I appreciate you. If you have any questions, last comments, let me know. Love you.